Sarah had always navigated life with a quiet determination, her path forged through diligence and an unwavering spirit. Her achievements, though not always flashy, brought her a deep, abiding satisfaction. A comfortable life, built brick by painstaking brick, was her testament to overcoming a past that had tested her resolve. She cherished her family, especially her younger sister Emily, despite the chasm that had grown between them over the years. Sarah held on to a hopeful flicker, a belief that beneath Emily's polished veneer, a genuine connection still existed. Emily, however, moved through the world with a different kind of ambition. Her life was a carefully curated tableau of designer labels, exotic vacations, and an insatiable hunger for social validation. She possessed a superficial charm, a dazzling smile that masked a tendency to judge others through the lens of material success. For years, Emily had subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, dismissed Sarah's career choices and what she perceived as a lack of aspiration. To Emily, Sarah's quiet contentment was merely a thinly veiled excuse for mediocrity. One crisp autumn evening, an invitation arrived, shimmering with Emily's characteristic flair. It was for dinner at the Obsidian, an exclusive, notoriously expensive restaurant, known for its hushed elegance and astronomical prices. Emily framed it as a celebratory occasion, a chance for them to reconnect, but Sarah felt a familiar unease stir within her. A part of her yearned for the reconciliation Emily hinted at, yet another part braced for the inevitable performance, the subtle showcasing of Emily's own supposed triumphs. The invitation, Sarah knew, was less about sisterly bonding and more about Emily's desire to flaunt her success. As Sarah stepped into the Obsidian, the hushed grandeur of the place immediately made her feel slightly out of sync. Crystal chandeliers dripped like frozen waterfalls, casting a warm glow on the velvet banquettes and impeccably dressed clientele. She wore her best, a classic dress she felt confident in, but the air of effortless wealth around her was palpable. Moments later, Emily swept in, a vision in emerald green clinging to the arm of her impeccably tailored partner. They made a grand entrance, turning heads as they navigated the room with an air of practiced superiority. Emily's eyes, bright with a predatory glint, immediately landed on Sarah. "Darling, you made it!" she exclaimed, a kiss barely grazing Sarah's cheek. "And you drove yourself. How quaint!" Her partner offered a perfunctory smile, his gaze already scanning the room for more important people. The microaggressions began almost immediately, a familiar dance. Emily critiqued Sarah's understated accessories, her choice of wine, and even the modest car she'd parked blocks away. Once seated, the conversation inevitably twisted towards finances and lifestyle. Emily, with a theatrical sigh, lamented the struggles of maintaining her lavish life, subtly contrasting it with Sarah's simpler existence. "It must be so refreshing," Emily purred, her voice dripping with feigned empathy, "not to worry about quarterly reports or the price of caviar. Your little non-profit work, or whatever it is, must be wonderfully stress-free." Her partner chuckled obligingly. Sarah felt a familiar wave of hurt and embarrassment wash over her, quickly followed by a prickle of anger. Emily's remarks grew more direct, more condescending. "Honestly, Sarah, sometimes I worry about you. You're so talented, but you just settle. Don't you ever want more? A real career? A life beyond, well, this?" She gestured vaguely around the opulent room, implying Sarah's presence there was a rare, perhaps undeserved treat. "It's just a shame, isn't it, darling?" Emily addressed her partner, who nodded vaguely, his attention on his phone. Sarah's desire to maintain the fragile peace warred with a fierce urge to defend herself, to scream that her choices were valid, that her quiet life was rich in ways Emily couldn't comprehend. Emily's shaming reached its crescendo. "Let's be real, Sarah," she declared, her voice carrying a little too far. "You're practically poor compared to everyone here. It's honestly a bit of a disappointment to the family, isn't it? We all expected more from you." A few nearby diners, drawn by the escalating tension, subtly shifted their gazes towards their table. Sarah felt her face flush, humiliation burning hot on her cheeks, just as she opened her mouth, ready to unleash a lifetime of pent-up resentment. Utterly defeated and humiliated, a distinguished figure approached their table. "Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from." The distinguished figure, impeccably dressed and radiating an aura of quiet authority, paused beside their table. Emily, basking in the fleeting glow of her perceived victory, primped slightly, assuming the man, clearly the manager, was approaching her wants. Her smile was practiced, ready for a compliment or, perhaps, a deferential inquiry about their dining experience. The manager, however, bypassed Emily entirely, his gaze settling directly on Sarah. "Sarah, what a pleasant surprise to see you here tonight," he said, his voice a warm, genuine baritone. He extended a hand not in a professional greeting, but with the familiarity of an old acquaintance. "It's been too long. How have things been?" Sarah, initially stunned, felt a flicker of recognition. "David, I'm very well, thank you," she stammered, shaking his hand. A faint smile touched her lips, a stark contrast to the rigid tension that had gripped her moments before. Emily's carefully constructed facade began to crack. Her smile wavered, replaced by a confused frown. Her partner, who had been idly scrolling on his phone, looked up, a hint of annoyance in his eyes. He clearly expected this interruption to be brief, a mere courtesy. "Things have been excellent thanks to people like you," David continued, his eyes twinkling. "Your initiative with the Harvest Haven project truly made a difference in the community last quarter. The impact was immeasurable, and I know many families are still benefiting from your tireless efforts." He turned slightly, including Emily and her partner in his address, though his focus remained squarely on Sarah. It's rare to find someone so dedicated, so quietly effective in such crucial philanthropic work. Emily's jaw tightened. Philanthropic work? Community projects? This was not the narrative she had carefully crafted for her sister. She had always dismissed Sarah's endeavors as hobbies or unpaid busy work, certainly nothing that would draw the attention of the manager of the Obsidian. Her partner shifted uncomfortably, sensing the awkwardness, if not the full implications of the manager's words. "We often talk about your innovative approach during our board meetings," David added casually, a knowing glint in his eye. "You have a knack for identifying exactly where resources are most needed and for implementing solutions with such grace. It's truly inspiring." Board meetings. The words hung in the air, a dissonant chord in Emily's carefully orchestrated aria of superiority. Her expression morphed from confusion to a dawning, sickening realization. She tried to interject, a forced laugh escaping her lips. "Oh, Sarah and her little projects. She's always been so passionate about, well, small-scale things, haven't you, dear?" David, however, smoothly ignored her, turning back to Sarah. "I heard you just finalized the acquisition of the old downtown market space. A bold move, but a brilliant one. That will revolutionize the local food scene, and I'm sure it will be another resounding success, just like your other ventures." He paused, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Speaking of which, we're considering a similar expansion for our patisserie next year. Perhaps you could offer some insights. Your business acumen is truly unparalleled." "Acquisition? Downtown market space? Other ventures?" Emily's face, usually a canvas of carefully applied confidence, drained of color. The manager wasn't just being polite, he was speaking of Sarah with genuine admiration, detailing accomplishments far beyond Emily's wildest imaginings for her poor sister. Her earlier shaming remarks now echoed in her own ears, sounding hollow, ignorant, and incredibly petty. The public validation of Sarah's worth, delivered with such effortless sincerity, was systematically dismantling every lie Emily had told herself and others about her sister. A quiet strength began to bloom within Sarah. She met David's gaze, a small, grateful smile gracing her lips. The humiliation that had threatened to engulf her had receded, replaced by a calm, unwavering confidence. She watched, almost dispassionately, as Emily's carefully constructed world of condescension crumbled around her. "And of course," David continued, a casual remark that delivered the final shattering blow to Emily's illusion of superiority, "it's always a pleasure to welcome one of our principal investors. Your vision for this establishment, Sarah, has been instrumental." The manager, David, delivered the ultimate revelation with the quiet dignity of a seasoned professional. "And of course," he continued, a casual remark that delivered the final shattering blow to Emily's illusion of superiority, "it's always a pleasure to welcome one of our principal investors. Your vision for this establishment, Sarah, has been instrumental." The words hung in the air, echoing with an undeniable finality. Principal investor. The realization hit Emily like a physical blow. Her face, which had cycled through shades of annoyance, confusion, and dawning horror, now completely drained of color. Her jaw hung slightly agape, her eyes wide with a mortified disbelief that morphed into abject shame. The expensive, exclusive restaurant, the very symbol of status she had used to belittle her sister, was partly Sarah's. The irony was a bitter, indigestible pill. Emily was utterly speechless, her carefully constructed world of superiority crumbling into dust around her. Her partner, who had been a silent, if somewhat oblivious participant in Emily's performance, now looked utterly embarrassed. He glanced from the composed manager to the pale, stunned Emily, then finally to Sarah, who remained poised and serene. A flicker of something akin to anger crossed his face, directed not at Sarah, but at Emily for leading him into such a spectacular public disgrace. The other diners, who had been subtly observing the unfolding drama, now openly stared at Emily, their gazes a mix of pity and amusement. The whispers that had been a low hum now seemed to intensify, each murmur a further blow to Emily's shattered pride. Sarah, despite the inner triumph that swelled within her, maintained her dignity with remarkable grace. She offered David a small, appreciative nod, a silent acknowledgement of his timely and devastating intervention. She didn't gloat, didn't offer a biting retort. Instead, her voice was calm, almost gentle, when she finally spoke, a subtle but firm comment that underscored Emily's profound misunderstanding of true wealth and success. "Thank you, David," she said, her gaze briefly meeting Emily's wide, desperate eyes. I've always believed that true value lies not in what one displays, but in what one builds quietly and with purpose. Her calm demeanor highlighted the stark contrast to Emily's earlier aggression, making her sister's cruelty seem even more petty and foolish. Emily, unable to bear the weight of such profound humiliation, scraped her chair back with a harsh sound that cut through the restaurant's refined ambiance. She mumbled something inaudible, her eyes darting around the room, desperate to escape the multitude of judging stares. Without another word, she practically dragged her bewildered partner from the table, making a hasty, undignified exit. Her partner, clearly mortified, offered a quick, apologetic nod towards Sarah before being pulled away, leaving behind a palpable silence. David, ever the professional, ensured Sarah's comfort. He offered her a more secluded table, a quiet corner where she could finish her meal in peace, or perhaps extended an invitation to a special members-only event hosted by the restaurant group. Sarah, however, politely declined, choosing to remain exactly where she was. She was left at the table, no longer feeling shamed but empowered and profoundly validated. As she savored a sip of water, a wave of internal reflection washed over Sarah. The evening had been a crucible, and she had emerged stronger. She understood now, more deeply than ever, that true worth wasn't measured by material possessions nor by the superficial approval of others, least of all her sister. It was found in her quiet achievements, her unwavering integrity, and the genuine respect she earned from those who truly understood her contributions. She acknowledged her own journey, the challenging past she had overcome, and the quiet strength she possessed, a strength that had been tested and proven tonight. A deep sense of peace and self-acceptance settled over her, warm and comforting. The narrative of her life, once clouded by Emily's condescension, now shone with clarity. It was a testament to the power of humility, genuine success, and the quiet, profound impact one could have simply by living authentically. Sarah enjoyed the rest of her meal, perhaps with David rejoining for a brief, respectful chat about the future of the Harvest Haven project, knowing she had not only defended her honor, but had also exposed the superficiality of her sister's values, all without resorting to bitterness or revenge. Her quiet victory was all the sweeter for its grace.